welcome back to my shop. So the F430, I'm actually really excited to have this car on the channel. Got a lot of cool upcoming videos in all different categories. So the ownership videos and maintenance, you know, like what's it like, what breaks, how to change the oil, how to change the gear fluid, brakes, you know, kind of stuff like that. So still gonna get a lot of those type of videos. Two, kind of the restoration videos. You already saw that. We redid the headliner in this, leather the leather, redid the dash. There's gonna be more videos like that, paint correction, ceramic coat it, stuff like that. Three, I want to do some motorsports videos. So there's a couple local tracks. Going to take this out there, film kind of what it's like to take one of these on the track. I did that with the 355, but I didn't have a channel then, so it didn't really work out. And then four, the thing I'm most excited about is just kind of modifications to anything. You know, plan on doing different mods to a lot of cars. I love doing that. Now, I'm not the kind of person that maybe does like a Liberty Walk body kit, but I do think that there are certain enhancements you can make to enhance what Ferrari maybe compromised to get these street legal. You know, for example, we're going to lower the thing because, you know, they're a race car company. No race car sits with a 4x4 height suspension. So wheels and tires, and then the exhaust, you know. So this is video one in the exhaust modification series. So I want to do headers, exhaust, and a valve controller. So we're going to be doing the valve controller. So if you guys come over here, you'll see what we have. We have step one and step two here. This is going to be the next video. Got a Klein exhaust from Inspired Autosports, a great company to work with, and we'll talk more about that in that next video. But today we're going to be doing the Forza Valve controller, and these things are kind of like a must in these cars, and you'll see why. So it should be pretty easy to install, and we're going to go ahead and get started. The kit is very simple and well put together. You get the controller, two remotes, two cables, an extension cable, and some instructions. It's all plug and play. There's no cutting, no splicing. It basically just allows you to operate the valves as you desire instead of just how the factory does them. So real quick before you get started, the last thing you want to do, over here you see it says valves are set for normal engine start. So we got to change that because I want my valves to be open at engine start. So now with the screws off, you can simply slide the top off and expose all the buttons. So real quick, there's a couple different switches here. You got these two are basically the same and they have to be set the same. This is either if you want it on switch or remote. So both of ours are set to remote because I don't have a switch yet. This one over here is for mode 1 or mode 2. Basically, if you have a 355, it's mode 2. If you have a 430, you put it in mode 1. And that depends on how the valves are, you know, wired from the factory. So the pin we want to change, you can see right here, we got this guy. Right now it is in ECU operations for default. I need to switch this over. So with it now set up like that, when I start the car, the valves are automatically going to be open. So that's all we got to do. Now we can put this back together and put it back into the car. All the work here is going to be done at the back, and the install is pretty simple. Basically just 4 screws here, 4 screws there, plug it in, attach it, and you're actually good to go. Both sides come off the same, except for in this one you have your emergency fuel lid opener. There's a little clip here. You can pull this halfway out and it allows the cable to come free. And then there's just one of these retaining clips here. Just make sure you don't shoot it down into the abyss below. And then this thing can just fall through. And then just undo the Allens. 3 of the 4 bolts are the same length. This one right here on either side is longer, so just pay attention to that. To get the panel off, you just kind of gently push down. Make sure it clears this little lip right here, and you can lift it away. Once the screws are undone, this one comes off the exact same way. Just kind of make sure you clear your body. Lift it out. So let me try to show you the valves we're trying to work with. Right here is valve 1. Valve 2 is actually on the underside of this. You can barely see it, but it's right down there. Like I said, install is pretty easy. The most tricky part is just trying to figure out where to mount it. There's basically 3 main options. The main one is over here, which you can see is full of all your F1 stuff, and to me this is a terrible option. Area 2 is over here, so you got your air reservoir tank here, your carbon canister here, and lots of good spaces over here to install it. The cons over here is down here you can see there's a vent for water, vent to your wheel well, so water can splash in here. And 2, your rate close to the exhaust, and so it could get quite warm. The third place I've seen people do it is they remove this panel and you can stick it right on top of kind of the fuel tank area. But you're still kind of in a hot zone. I mean, you're right on top of essentially the headers. So as far as heat's concerned, I mean, you'd have to make a pretty good argument that that is going to get less hot than that. Also, if you need to access it to install either the switch or mess with the pins again, after much consideration, I'm actually just going to leave that there and we're going to install it here. So I think I'm going to stick it right to the side of the carbon tank right there. It's a nice little place. It won't fall out because the weight is being supported here. So we're just going to take a little bit of isopropyl, wipe the back of this where the sticky is going to go, and wipe the carbon canister where I'm going to stick it to. All right, so now we've wiped the carbon canister with some isopropyl. Use their adhesive Velcro. We're going to put it exactly here. So now we can just slide the controller into here. That's not going anywhere. All right, so now we got to hook up the ground, and guess what? Right down here looks like a perfect ground. So that's where we're going to go with that. Just snug down the ground. Now installing the harness is actually super easy. So push down on the metal clip. You'll find it unplugs very easily. Find, I guess this would, technically I guess this is the male side. Plug it into the harness. Now take the harness and plug it back into here. So all we've done is kind of intercept it with this Y plug. Tuck them out of the way so they're not in the way. And then we run the rest of this wire back to the controller. So if I was to complain about this kit at all, this would be the main thing. So the initial plug is like 6 inches too short from reaching. So instead of just making one harness 6 inches longer, they give you like this entire like 4-foot extension. And so it's kind of sucks because now I got to bundle up 4 feet of wire. Now all I got to do is just install a couple zip ties so it looks all factory here, and that's done. All right, so now we're kind of collecting a giant bundle of wires here, and there's going to be more, so we'll address that here in 1 second. So now we'll go ahead and do the last wire, which is the harness that's underneath here. So that's going to be the tricky one just because you really can't see a whole lot of what you're doing. I've heard of some people going through the wheel well to get this one. We're going to just do it by feel. But down here it actually is kind of tricky because you can't see where the metal clip is, but here I found a way to do this. So if you actually peek through this little gap, you'll see, you can actually see that metal bar right there is the clip that we're trying to get. So I can get that easily with a screwdriver. So I'm going to use one hand to reach around it and grab it. The other hand I'm going to use on a screwdriver and push that pin down, and that should be able to do it. All right, so now we got both valves plugged in, and now we have both harnesses kind of just sitting around here. So we got this huge wad of wires. Luckily, all of it's going to be one spot, so we're going to do a nice pretty bundle, zip tie it up, and then literally the install's done. So let's go ahead and try to do that. All right, so here is the finished install. As you can see, I've kind of just bundled them up in a nice little pretty circle here. I guess I could have zip tied him there too. Maybe I'll go back and do that one. Anyway, when we're ready to hook up our switch, these are the wires that go to the switch. It's not going anywhere. It should be pretty protected away from the heat, being almost, you know, a foot back from the edge even. So I think we're going to be good. So now's the best part. We get to take this thing for a drive. All right, so now here's the cool part. With just a click of a button, you can open and close the valves. All right guys, so the Forza Valve is installed and it's working great. So remember, all you're really doing is one button allows you to force the valves open, the other one just reverses the factory setting. And in factory setting, they do open the valves, only under like moderate to full throttle and only above a certain RPM. So you get this awkward, when you're accelerating, you get it kind of quiet and the valves open, it's loud, and then quiet and it's loud as you shift. It takes away all that and lets you have like kind of the uniform sound of the valves open. The other main benefit is like when you're downshifting. So like normally when you downshift and you're braking into a turn, like no gas right now. valve would be closed, so that would be quiet. So it's really nice to be able to hear the motor when you're decelerating through the gears. And then of course, just, you know, the nice sound when idle. If you're pulling into a parking lot or car some coffee, you don't want your car to sound like a Tesla. So either way, I'm very happy with it. It sounds great. If you haven't got one of these yet, I'd highly suggest it.